Imagine standing on a cold January morning in 1919, your breath curling in the winter air, the streets of Boston's North End still damp from a night's frost. You hear the distant clanging of shipyard bells, the hiss of steam from delivery carts, and the muffled thud of horse hooves on cobblestone. The smell of the harbor lingers, saltwater, fish, coal smoke, and beneath it all, something sweet, almost pleasant at first, like warm molasses cookies baking in a kitchen. But here, in the middle of Boston's bustling waterfront district, the scent is strange, out of place. Then comes the sound, a deep, groaning rumble, the kind that seems to come from inside the earth. At first, you think it's a train, maybe the elevated line, but it grows louder, metallic, strained. And suddenly, you realize it's coming from the massive steel tank looming over the neighborhood. 50 feet tall, 90 feet across, it holds over 2 million gallons of dark molasses, destined for distilleries to be turned into rum and industrial alcohol. At 12:30 p.m., the sound becomes a roar, and the world changes in an instant. With a noise like the tearing of giant sheets of metal, the tank bursts open. Its steel sides peel away like a tin can. For a fraction of a second, there's only silence. Then it comes, a wall of molasses, 40 feet high at its crest, dark and glistening under the pale winter sun, moving faster than any human can run. Over 35 miles per hour. It doesn't pour, it doesn't flow. It charges, an unstoppable mass of sticky, heavy liquid, the color of dark coffee, carrying the full weight of 26 million pounds. The air fills with the sharp, cloying scent of sugar. Horses scream as they're swallowed. Wagons vanish. Entire buildings shudder and then lift from their foundations as if caught in a tidal wave. People are caught mid-step, mid-breath. Some are thrown clear, others are sucked into the churning, viscous flood. One man on a delivery cart is hurled against a lamppost with such force that it bends the steel. A truck is lifted and tossed into the harbor like a toy. Witnesses describe it as surreal. As if the laws of nature had been rewritten, the molasses rolls through the streets, filling basements, smashing windows, ripping doors from hinges. In the path of this strange, sweet tsunami, sound becomes muffled, as though the air itself is thickened. People trapped in it can barely scream. The molasses clings to mouths and noses, making every breath a fight. It lasts less than 5 minutes, but in that time, the North End is transformed into something out of a fever dream. When the wave finally slows, it leaves behind a sticky, suffocating ruin. The molasses is knee-deep in some places, waist-deep in others. It glistens in the winter light, a dark, rippling sheet over cobblestones, alleys, and harborfront. It's warm at first, fresh from the heated tank, but quickly begins to cool, thickening into something more solid than liquid. Trapped animals struggle until they can't anymore. People fight to pull each other free, their hands sticking as if glued. Every movement is exhausting. By the time the chaos ends, 21 people are dead. Over 150 are injured. Horses, the lifeblood of the city's delivery system, are gone. Many euthanized on the spot because they couldn't be saved. The property damage is staggering. Entire buildings have been flattened. The nearby elevated train line was twisted and buckled by the force of the wave. But what caused it? At first, theories swirl. Was it sabotage? The United States had just emerged from World War I, and tensions with anarchist groups were high. Some claimed the tank had been bombed by political radicals. Others whispered about mafia involvement. But as investigators wade, quite literally, into the sticky wreckage, another picture begins to emerge. The tank's owner, the United States Industrial Alcohol Company, had built it quickly in 1915, rushing to profit from wartime demand for industrial alcohol. Rumors among workers claimed the tank groaned and leaked from the start. Neighborhood kids would bring cups to collect the dripping molasses at its base. The company's response? They painted the tank brown to hide the leaks. The day of the disaster, the temperature in Boston had swung wildly, from freezing cold to unseasonably warm. The molasses inside, kept heated so it would flow, expanded rapidly in the shifting weather. Combined with a tank never properly tested for safety, the pressure became too much. The steel, thinner than it should have been, tore apart. In the aftermath, the cleanup took months. Crews used salt water from the harbor and sand to scrub the streets, but molasses clung to everything. The harbor itself stayed brown until summer. For decades after, old-timers swore that on hot days, you could still smell the faint sweetness in the air. The lawsuits that followed lasted 6 years, becoming one of the first major class action cases in U.S. history. The court found the company responsible, citing shoddy construction and neglect. Families of the victims received compensation, about $7,000 per lost life, a significant sum at the time. But money couldn't erase the image of a neighborhood drowned in sugar. And still, the disaster leaves room for questions and strange reflections. Some survivors describe the flood almost as if it were alive. The way it moved, the way it seemed to seek out low ground, twisting into alleys like a predator hunting prey. The speed of it defies intuition. Molasses isn't supposed to move that fast. Scientists later calculated that the weight and volume made it possible, especially when heated. But in the moment, it must have seemed supernatural. There's also the haunting fact that molasses, something so ordinary, even comforting, became a weapon. Not fire, not flood, not war, but syrup. Thick, sweet, deadly syrup. Today, the site of the Great Molasses Flood is just another part of Boston's busy waterfront. Tourists walk over it without knowing. A small plaque marks the event, but most people pass by. The North End smells of espresso, baked bread, and garlic now, not sugar. The tank is long gone, and the disaster has faded into the category of strange history, the kind you read about and wonder how it could possibly be real. But on that January day in 919, the people of St. Pierre learned that the familiar can become terrifying in an instant. That something meant to sweeten life can just as easily take it away. Thank you for joining me in revisiting one of the most bizarre and deadly days in American history. I wonder, if you had been there, standing on that cobblestone street, would you have run at the first strange groan, or would you have stayed, thinking nothing so odd could be dangerous? If you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, please like, comment, and share. It truly helps keep these stories alive.